Hello out there. What the heck was that? It's a wine-free zone. We're on the air. Happy hump day. Happy hump day, everybody. Welcome back. We're in the in-between phase right now. We're past the Bitcoin journey, or are we? We're past the daily Bitcoin journey for sure. We're in the transitionary phase right now. We're transitioning. And I got a bunch of different ideas I'm kicking around right now, and I'm not entirely sure what the end result will be, but we'll see soon. Basically, my plan as of right now is to keep doing that. We're going to keep doing the live shows every morning. We're going to be doing them on Rumble, and we're going to do them on Noster. And we're going to upload those into school. That's where they're going to be stored. That's loud. And then I got some different plans for the channel, maybe even a new channel, but we don't need to talk about that here. It's going to be slightly different, but that's kind of what's happening here. I've realized that the whole living in the future thing, the whole 88 sats radio channel, it wasn't focused enough. And so that's what we're going to try to do a little bit more of, is we're going to try to focus a little bit more on Bitcoin stuff and on other things separately though. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if anybody gives a shit, but the point is, the moral of the story is that we're going to keep doing these streams. This week, we're doing the launch for Bitcoin Citadel. So we're going to have another educator from Bitcoin Citadel on this morning. We're going to be talking about some privacy tools, some open source stuff, running a node, and we're going to be talking about basically how to become more sovereign, which I think that's what that's the hook, line, and sinker for Bitcoin. People get into it usually when they see that going up. I'm guessing most people watching this right now got into Bitcoin because they saw a number going up and they wanted to be part of it. And the majority of those people sell. Realistically, anybody who gets in when the price is going up, they usually sell it for a profit, or they sell it when it crashes and they don't know what the hell they're doing. But there's a small group of people that stick around from there. And most people here, including myself, are part of that group. So then it's the sovereignty. It's what Bitcoin allows you to do. It's the fact that you can send value, you can send money to anybody else on this planet without anybody's permission, which we've never had before, other than handing somebody a $20 bill or a $100 bill or something like that. So there are, it's kind of scary times we're living through right now. We've seen a lot of things with in the UK that have happened recently in terms of digital ID, things like that. In Canada, we're not too far behind that, and I actually got a fellow Canadian coming on the show today, which I'm very excited for. Speaking of that, I should send him an invite here in a couple minutes. He'll be on probably in 5 minutes, I would say. Hopefully, if he's around. If he's listening. It's too bright. I guess I could have just turned it down. Okay, let's start with this right now. So this is something I've been doing a little bit. Well, we're going to start doing this on the new version of the show. So if anybody's watching this on YouTube right now, consider hopping over to Rumble, because that's where this is going to be our last couple shows here as we do the launch for Bitcoin Citadel on the channel this week. But that'll be it. We're going to be doing weekly live streams. I think Tuesdays is going to be the security show on YouTube. But other than that, everything's going to be on Rumble and Noster. So shout out to everybody watching on Rumble right now. Shout out to everybody watching on the Noster stream, Zap stream, Primal, Amethyst. But this is the Canadian. What the heck's going on out there? Arnie, what you doing? This is the Canadian price here. So if we go to 1 month here, you can see that we actually hit an all-time high before the US. So I think it was on the 3rd, or I think it was the 3rd. But we hit an all-time high before the US dollar did. So the point of showing these different currencies, this is in Canadian dollars. So right now in Canada, if you want to get one Bitcoin, one whole coin, I know we see these numbers and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's gone up good. But like, that's a lot of dollars to exchange for one Bitcoin. 170,000 in Canada here. And I don't know about you, but I know a very, very small handful of people in my life that would have $170,000 liquid that they could put into Bitcoin. And the thing about that is a very, very smaller percentage of those people would actually allocate that amount to Bitcoin. So I know as Bitcoiners, we always have these high hopes and dreams of getting to one Bitcoin, but I'm just going to tell you, it's very difficult at this stage to get one whole Bitcoin. If you're just showing up to the party right now, it is extremely difficult to get one Bitcoin. So that was one of the things that we talked about in the 10 lessons the other day that I've learned after 400 live streams is that you don't need to get to one Bitcoin. There's no number that you should be chasing. And I think that the more you fall into that trap, the more you fall back into the fiat cult of chasing things. So what we want to do is we just want to add as much value to the world, and the value that we get in exchange for that, we store in Bitcoin. So this is the Canadian price of the Canadian exchange rate for Bitcoin, 170,556 Canadian dollars for one Bitcoin. Okay, we're going to get through some chats here, and then we're going to bring on our guest. I'm going to get the invite here for him. Invite. All right. So we got Killer here. We got Samantha here over on Rumble. Scotty says, is this the place for up and coming music producers? It is. You're in the right spot, Scotty. Ginger's here. Good morning, Ginger. Philosophical falafels. Oh, you're trying to get me here. You're trying to get me. Okay, I got to make sure I got the right. Yes, I do. I got the right email here. So we're going to bring on the guest here in a couple minutes. Josh says, good morning, Rumble. Good to be back. Took yesterday off to spend the day with my kids. Cashed in the 3-hour round trip GTA commute for no fiat and my most finite resource back, my time. Nice, Josh. I was wondering where you were yesterday. I didn't see you in this chat. I didn't see you in Jerry's chat. But it's good to see you back here, man. Is this a place for tongue twisters? Yeah, man, that really tripped me up. That was actually funny. And the crazy thing is like there was no reason for me to stumble on that word. It just, sometimes your brain just stops working. Like it happens to me all the time in golf. I'm about to hit a shot and my brain just literally shuts off and I do something stupid. And there's 2 strokes gone. 2 strokes added to the card. Stripes is here. Good morning, Stripes. Samantha's over on YouTube as well. Buck52. Where am I? In the woods tomorrow. I don't know where the hell you are. Buck52. Duncan. Whoa. Arnie's back. Duncan's here. Good morning, Duncan. Thanks for the DCA yesterday, buddy. I forgot to give you a shout out. We were kind of it's kind of hard for me to pay attention to a guest, come up with some discussions and pay attention to everything going on. I do my best, but it's tough. Ian's here. Good morning, Ian. Okay. I'm going to send the link right now, and we'll let him in here right away. Todd's here. Good morning, Todd. Todd, I sent you a message on Signal yesterday. I don't know if you got it or not. Nav, Whalers, boys, girls, 6'5" Sats. Mikkel, there he is. What's up, you Sat stacking sleuths? And Arnie and Jor. Arn Mikkel says hi. Oh. X-rated. He's licking himself. Praetorian's here. Good morning. Frank. Haven't seen Frank for a while. Good morning, Jordan family. We are right about Bitcoin. Good to see you, Frank. Sats and sunsets. I have my Start9 server up and running with a NOTS node. No clue what else to do with it. Well, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit today. That might actually be Friday's show, Sats and sunsets. We're going to have a couple different conversations here throughout the week, talking about things like this. So we will, we'll probably talk about that Friday in terms of Start9s. Hey, Jen. Good morning, peeps. You're on in the background while I work. Good morning, Jen. Thank you very much again for the big zap the other day. That was a nice surprise logging into the wallet there. So thank you for that very much. VHF's here. Good morning, VHF. 20 hours to download the blockchain. I unplugged it. Need to add a firewall and VPN and run some more tests. Kev Keith. Good morning, Kev. Happy hump day. My friends and family are all broke asses. Paradigm Miner says, where does he get the chats from? Rumble. I get them from everywhere, but most people are on Rumble. I'm going to share the link to Rumble right now. Because again, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you're going to want to get onto Rumble. Oh, we got 300 subscribers over there officially. Wow. No thanks to Rumble, that's for sure. But anyways, yeah, anybody watching this on YouTube, I've been trying to put that link in the comments for the people who watch after. But in case you're watching this after and I forgot to put the link in there, you can just search 88 Sats and make sure you get the right account because there's 88 Sats radio on there and there's 88 Sats. I think I'm actually going to pull the 88 Sats radio one just to avoid confusion. But it's rumble.com, user 88 Sats. Just search 88 Sats. You're going to find the Rumble channel there. We're on Rumble right there. Matt's here. Good morning, Matt. Hey, Matt, are you over on Rumble? Do you got a link to your new book that I could share here quickly? Bitcoin Nurse is here. Good morning, Bitcoin Nurse. All right, Todd says, got it. Figured out how to send you sats on Primal, but now I can't reload my wallet over there again. Yeah, Primal's kind of, I don't know. Primal's done a lot of good things, but I feel like they still kind of lag in a few departments. All right, I better check on the guest here. I'll have the link on Signal. Okay, can you send it over in Rumble though? I won't be able to get it right now on the computer. If you want me to, it doesn't matter. All right, well, we'll wait for him. We'll wait. We got no rush here. Let's check on the mempool. We got no rush, although we do have a busy day today. We have a busy day today, so I'm not sure how long the show is going to be today, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of stuff we get into. Jake, sorry I missed you, buddy. Coffee time. Amen to that. Cheers. Look at this. We got block just came in after 21 minutes. All right, so we're currently sitting at 918,193 blocks. That is the time in Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin doesn't have a clock. Actually, Bitcoin is its own clock, but Bitcoin doesn't pay attention to our clock. It doesn't matter. Bitcoin has its own time. It runs on its own clock. And things like the difficulty adjustment every, I think, 2016 blocks, and things like the halving every 210,000 blocks, they run on Bitcoin time, not minutes or hours or days or months or years even. It's all based on the block height. So this is the current time in Bitcoin right now, 918,193, which means that's how many blocks there has been since the Genesis block back in January of 2009. We're coming up to the white paper anniversary too right away. That was October 31st, 2008, when Satoshi released the Bitcoin white paper. And it looks like we got a difficulty adjustment downwards coming up, maybe. But that was kind of overdue because we had a couple really big upwards adjustments in the difficulty there. So you can see that it says approximately 8 days because it's all based on blocks. So in this difficulty adjustment here, 913 blocks have been mined. We're 59 blocks behind, and we have 1,103 blocks remaining. So that's the mempool. Hey, we got our guest here. Here he is. All right, let's bring him on. Alex, it looks like you're muted though. Oh, there we go. There he is.
Good morning.
Good morning. I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic.
How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just drinking some hot coffee here. Is it
Your
chilly there
morning
or no?
coffee? It's yeah, it's not quite morning. It's still dark here. This is unreal,
I
actually.
see that. Well, you're 2 hours behind me, right?
3.
3.
Uh-huh.
So it's 6 a.m. there right now.
Oh, sorry, 2. You're right. 7
Yeah,
a.m. here. Yeah,
7 a.m.
yeah.
Okay, well, this is Alex, as you can see from his name tag here. Alex, how long? Let's start with a couple of just intro questions because we had Craig on yesterday, another member of our Bitcoin Citadel team. And people are fairly familiar, I think, with Craig. We've talked about him a lot, but haven't really talked too much about Alex. So give us maybe a bit of a background where you're from, not your specific location, but country, when you got into Bitcoin, your skills and expertise here, and how long you've been watching the 88 Sats radio channel.
Sure. So I live in Western Canada, and I I run a small plumbing and heating company out here. So that's my job basically. I've been a plumber for almost 20 years now, and I kind of got into Bitcoin. Well, sorry, not Bitcoin. I got into altcoins probably over 5 years ago. Maybe 5-6 years ago, I started playing with altcoins.
What was your
I
first one?
uh, I want to say
Ethereum.
Ethereum. Yeah,
Over Bitcoin.
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Interesting.
That and what else did I play with? Like stupid ones like Tron
Oh, yeah.
and things like that. More related to the hype, right? But then I kind of started after I got into the altcoins. I lost money, obviously, doing that. Probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I did get into Bitcoin a little bit, but I made a huge mistake by buying Bitcoin and then putting it on Celsius. And we all know what happened with Celsius, right? So I did get some of it back after their lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, and their class action stuff. So I did get some of that back, not all of it.
What percentage? Do you know, or are they still paying out?
I think between 25 and 30%.
Okay,
Yeah, which isn't.
that's not bad.
No, but I mean, I didn't have much into it. I had a couple grand into it, really.
Okay.
To be honest with you. But that was my first experience with Bitcoin. So then I just said, forget it. I'm not gonna touch. I'm out of here. I'm not gonna touch Bitcoin. and
Well, who could
so
blame you?
So I went and started playing around with kind of like precious metals and stock market stuff. Very light, very little. Just general index funds and ETFs and stuff like that. And then while I was doing that, I just started realizing, okay, Bitcoin's back in the news. It's been around for a while, and maybe I should look into it again. Maybe I should investigate a little bit more. So I started investigating Bitcoin again, about a year and a half ago, and that's when I stumbled upon your show. Basically, I've been here almost a year and a half with you guys, and
Nice. Yeah, you were pretty early. You were one of the early, the founders, I would say, of the community here.
Not at the very beginning, but pretty early, and ever since listening to your show and just reading lots, being a content zombie, basically, I learned a lot from there. And it's not only about Bitcoin, but the fields related to Bitcoin and everything around Bitcoin, and living a Bitcoin life and that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm at now, basically.
Living the Vida Loca.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that would have been in like what? 2022 then you started to 2023. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So and you're still doing your plumbing stuff?
Yep. So I'm full-time running the company, working. I'm an owner operator, so I'm on the field lots, doing tons of work in the office and just running the business. And so that's my gig right now, basically.
Yeah, I got to say, man, because we've been doing this Bitcoin Citadel stuff for a while. Like, I don't even know when we officially started talking about it, but we've been meeting pretty much every week for, I don't know, like almost 8 months now, like since the start of the year, pretty much.
Yep, that's right.
And Alex is there most days. He's always driving around. He's always taking his kids somewhere, or like he's a busy guy. So I do appreciate the time today, Alex, especially being that early. And I appreciate everything you're helping us out with Bitcoin Citadel. So we got a couple people. The nice thing about the Bitcoin Citadel so far is that we have a couple different people in different areas, and we got the hardware wallets, the nodes, the privacy, security stuff. We got kind of all the bases covered. The business side of things. What would you say that you focus your time on? Daniel calls you a tinkerer. Is that fair?
It is fair, actually. So, along with learning about Bitcoin over the last year and a bit, I've learned a lot about, and I'd say my stronger focuses would be on the Graphene OS operating system and Graphene OS secure phones. I have really enjoyed working with the Umbrel Home software and node. Creating nodes. Creating your own Bitcoin node, basically. And I really enjoy open source hardware wallets too. So, of course, cold card's a standard, but there are many other options. Like Seed Signer would be an option for an open source where you can make the Seed Signer out of a Raspberry Pi, basically, and put it together, flash the software, and off you go. It does the same thing a cold card can do. Same thing, like I know Craig talked about the Spectre DIY, that kind of stuff. Those are really, I have one of those too. Those are really fun projects just to play with, right? Then the thing I've just, not recently, but I've been thinking about a lot, and it's been in the back burner, would be Bitcoin mining. So using a miner, just start off with a BitAxe, and then kind of work my way to getting a small S9, which is an older Antminer machine, to heat my house. I have a little box here that's sitting beside me, warming up. Yeah, it's and what I like about it is it's older, so I don't care if I break it, doing stuff to it and playing around with it with settings and stuff. So there's that, and then of course, being a plumber and heating tech, I am very interested in heat reuse. So using miners to heat air or water. And I know I haven't really talked about it much, but I do have a couple projects actually on the go, prototypes that I want to build in the next couple months, and I'm going to be bringing everybody on the journey with me, basically.
Nice.
In the Bitcoin Citadel. So it's going to be a pretty exciting little project, to tell you the truth.
Wow, I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's been, I mean, going back to the Citadel stuff, like that's more so than anything else. Like people being in the Living the Future community, I think obviously have probably increased their Bitcoin knowledge, their conviction. It's nice to have people you can talk to when the price is going down or celebrating when it's going up. But I think more than anything else is just the opportunities that have come from it. And Bitcoin Citadel wouldn't exist without Living the Future kind of getting off the ground. All 7 of us met in Living in the Future, and it's pretty powerful to have a network of people. And I was kind of thinking, I'm just going to go off on this little trail here quickly, and then we can go back to what we were talking about there. But one of the things that I'm most excited about in the future is seeing what plays out of this, of the Living the Future, of the Citadel, of all these different opportunities popping up right now. And maybe just explain what the reuse of heat does, especially, I mean, in Canada, it's pretty important. It's pretty cold here. Froze. We had some frost on the ground here yesterday. But how would somebody take a Bitcoin miner like an S9? Did you build that yourself? Like just made a heater out of it? Or did you have like a package from Crypto Cloaks or something?
Yeah. So actually the package came from Decentral. They're out in I think Quebec, Montreal area, and it was an S9. Yeah. It's an S9 miner that was wrapped in a Crypto Cloaks housing, right? And And I did a post on this actually on the Bitcoin Citadel of me firing it up and getting it ready for the season because it started getting a little cold inside here. But you literally just buy the box. It has the OS flashed on it already. It's ready to go. You plug it in. You find the IP address of your miner, and it's not that hard actually. You just run the miner with the flashed software. You can just say, okay, I want to run it at 50%, 100%, whatever, and it goes. Then what you do then is basically point your miner to a pool, so it can be any pool you want, and your sats get sent over to the pool. It's pretty much that's as basic as it can go. You can get more complicated, obviously, but
do you do are the sats coming in over Lightning, or do they wait to batch?
They're actually, I have it on Brains OS, and they can do it as little as 100 sats a day if you wanted to send. So I literally send sats to I know it's not non-KYC, but it's to my wallet of Satoshi. It's the easiest way to do it. And then I transfer it. Once I have enough sats to play around with, I'll move it to a different wallet, or I'll kindly give it to you on one of your shows or something like that, right? Things like that. It's just it's cool to be able to just have something, have some sats to play around with, and just the learning experience has been awesome. Like I said, this little S9 has heated my main floor. It did it last year, and I'm gonna get another air miner pretty soon, a newer one, and maybe I can make some profit this time, and something that's a little bit more efficient. So it'll be fun. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that I mean that's kind of the point of it, right? Is like I feel like if somebody in the North America were to start mining Bitcoin right now, like it's not a real profitable venture just by plugging in a miner, using your electricity just to mine Bitcoin. But when you're using it for something like that, so in this case, Alex would have been paying for a heater in the room, or paying to run the furnace a little bit harder. So it's basically just subsidizing the costs that he would be paying anyways. That's kind of how I see it, and especially in some of the colder parts of North America.
That is correct. Yeah. So let's just say, my heater costs $1 a day to run, as an example. It might be more or less. So the electricity I'm using in that miner costs $1 a day, but the sats I'm getting back are worth, let's say, 50 cents a day. So that's a 50% reduction in your heating cost right off the bat. Not many things are going to give you a 50% reduction in your heating costs, right? And if you get a more efficient miner, we're talking about getting 100%, 120%, 150%, 300% return on just heating your place with that little miner, basically. So the advantages are there. It's becoming more and more popular. It's still very early. I think we're really, really early. There's lots of research done, especially in the States. The States is probably the leading edge for companies out there in the States. There are companies that do full heating, mining installations and stuff like that. Nobody I know of there's one big company in Western Canada that kind of works with a couple municipalities that have started working on heating mining, but
in Canada,
in Western Canada, there's just one company though. It's I forget what they're called. Actually, I'll look it up. But they are. They're working with one of the cities out here and reusing the. So they're basically just heating up the water for their rec centers or something like that.
Oh yeah. I think that's in Vancouver, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that. I think the mayor was talking about it.
Yeah, and another one they're doing is they're heating the main one of their large pools. Basically, it's one of the most popular pools in the Vancouver area, using Bitcoin mining. Basically, so
that's awesome.
It is awesome. It's getting there, right?
So I remember having a conversation with you over a year ago now, probably, when we were talking about plumbing and how you could use, mining to essentially create a whole new industry. And I think that that's what's going to happen here over time. Like you said, it's kind of a getting off to a slow start, but everything is in Bitcoin. That's how everything works with this, right? But from your travels in the last little while, what have you seen as like the biggest, maybe not opportunity, but something along those lines? Like what has excited you the most about kind of the project that, without giving too much away? Is there just lots of people interested, or is it just like makes sense financially to do, or what's the revelations there lately?
Not yet. I think it's a little bit too early for a couple of reasons. The overhead costs of installing the equipment's very expensive, first of all. It's a little bit prohibitive for some people. So, in a residential situation, no, not likely to see people invest, thousands of dollars into a mining system that will return them peanuts, let's just say, in comparison to, let's say, a larger company that has a warehouse space where they have a bit more capital to play with. And, the market, I think, would be best. It'd be best to target into that market, let's say,
instead of residential.
In my opinion, just because a warehouse would have the infrastructure ready. They have the electricity ready to go. They're going to want some equipment that'll heat the space. They can not only heat the air, but they can heat the water as well in the warehouse space. So they're willing to put in, if the company is let's just say $1 million company, they're willing to put 30 grand into a heating system, because that's what it's going to cost to get a rooftop unit and a couple unit heaters in the warehouse anyways, right? So you may as well put some decent equipment in there. And so I think that would be the way to go for Bitcoin mining anyways. That's what I've seen. And it's still early because a lot of corporations, a lot of people don't understand Bitcoin as it is, first of all, right? And I think until we get past that hurdle, that's the one hurdle. And once people start understanding Bitcoin being a valuable asset, not only just to have, but to have in your company treasury, that what we always talk about, building businesses and having the business understand and having that treasury. And, I'm not saying be a strategy or Michael Saylor, but I'm just saying you talk about it a lot, where you say the corporation, it's good to have, okay, you have a lot of cash, but hey, why don't you put some of that in Bitcoin and just leave it there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially now, like I as spending years in the accounting world, I saw how much some of these small businesses have in cash, right? Because they're not big enough where they're making all these different investments within the corporation. They maybe just had a good quarter, or a good, a year even, and they have all this cash sitting in a checking account because they don't really know what to do with it. And so something like that, I feel like, is just perfect to sit in Bitcoin right now. And especially when you hear people from JP Morgan on CNN nowadays calling it the basement trade or something. And so that's kind of a new term. Even 5 years ago, nobody really knew what the term fiat meant. That was kind of introduced to the world, the fiat dollar, to the mainstream anyways.
That's a really good point, actually. And until I started watching your show, I didn't know.
That's what I mean. Like, this stuff wasn't really common knowledge. That it was just the dollar before, like the Canadian dollar, the US dollar. There was no fiat dollar. But I feel like once it kind of becomes mainstream and people start talking about it, that's why I'm such a big advocate of just speaking things into existence. That's what happened with the fiat dollar. And I feel like now that we have this, the start of it anyways, of the Bitcoin being a debasement trade, which means, easy investment, instead of storing your profits or whatever in cash, just put it into Bitcoin, because they're printing more dollars every day and nobody can print more Bitcoin. It doesn't take, rocket science to figure out that that's probably a better play there. But you're right. It's just a lack of understanding. And I think the businesses, in terms of Bitcoin adoption, are going to be the biggest drivers of that, because they're going to say, hey, why I don't want to accept cash, or sorry, not cash, but fiat dollars, because I want to store it in Bitcoin. So why would I go through the process of taking your fiat, having to pay the conversion fees, have to go through that whole process to convert into Bitcoin? Why don't I just accept Bitcoin? And I think that that's going to be kind of the next driver of adoption. But it sounds like the same thing you're thinking of with mining, in terms of businesses understanding that, hey, not only can we subsidize our energy costs here, but we can also store the profits or whatever we have here in Bitcoin.
You nailed it. that's the thing. If they, they can understand the whole mining thing as, okay, I'm getting a really good rebate on my
Yep.
heating. That's level one thinking,
Yep.
right? Level two would be, if we can save money heating, what can we do with this Bitcoin stuff? Where else can we put it? Where else can we deploy these assets? And then it just goes on talking about, holy cow, what can we build? Where can we spend our money? Can we put some of this away for, future equipment? Can we put some of this money away for retirement packages? Can we put this money away for this Bitcoin away for emergency funds, right? Things like that. So, and
retirement,
then
that's a good call.
Yeah, retirement packages. I think imagine how lucrative that would be. Like
Well,
having a Bitcoin retirement package working in a company.
Do you remember Bodie last year? He had the Kentucky, what were they called? That t-shirt company. And they basically, the owner bought like 5 Bitcoin, I think, for the employees' retirement fund. And they had a TV in the warehouse with the price of Bitcoin and how much it's gone up since they first bought it, and how all the employees have a share of that Bitcoin. Like, what a way to, get people interested in Bitcoin when they have the retirement in it. And since then, since Bodie did that show with them, it's just been going up like this, which is crazy.
That's amazing. Actually.
Yeah. I remember working at my job, and I would get an investment statement every quarter, and I would look at it. It might have gone up like 2% or 3%. It was invested in shit had never even heard of before. Yeah. But something like this is just so in your face that it's impossible to ignore. And I feel like as that seeps further and further into, small businesses, society, overall conversations, I think that's when it starts to get some traction.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because this is something I'm fascinated in myself, and I'm interested to hear your kind of take on this, but we kind of talked about the residential use of home mining, heat reuse. The commercial aspect you think is going to be probably a little bit more faster to happen to play out. But what about using Bitcoin miners in like remote locations? Have you looked into that very much and the opportunities there?
Not really. No. I haven't, to be honest with you.
Well, that's good. No, that's fair, because we're not going to have a conversation if neither of us really understand it. Like I'm sure both of us get the basic premise of it, but yeah. Well, let's go on to something else. So in the meantime, here I see a lot of people in the chat here in YouTube and Rumble and Noster. But if you have any questions about home mining, heat reuse, we're going to get into some other topics here, including Umbrel. Some open source stuff, the Graphene OS. There's actually some questions in the chat yesterday for Craig about privacy phones. So if you have any questions for Alex, we're going to have a bit of a conversation here first, and we can field some questions at the end. But just kind of keep that in mind here. So tell us about the tools, because I mean, you're a trades guy, so obviously you like playing around and learning things on your own. How did that process go in terms of you realizing a need to learn about this stuff? And did you just start watching YouTube videos? Did you take a course? Did you just start playing around with it? Or what was the process of digging into some of these tools?
That's a good question. I started with, using your show as the main resource. From there, I got some ideas from you to, read books. I read a couple Bitcoin related books, lots of YouTube videos. Not gonna do a self-endorsing or an endorsement promotion video, but BTC Sessions was like one of the first guys that I would watch because he has really good tutorials on stuff. And as a novice, I looked to that first as my baseline to understand what's going on and to learn about stuff. After that, I just kind of started, pick a topic like the Graphene OS phone, the Pixel phone. And I just, I literally bought a phone for $400 unlocked on Facebook Marketplace and went at it. I didn't care if I broke it. that was my mentality. It's like $400. I spend $400 doing other stupid things anyway, so this is not going to hurt, right? And so I would do that. And, the Umbrel, I got that, and I started running a node basically after understanding how important running your own node was. That was when that kind of happened. So I mean, it was just a natural evolution of, me learning about Bitcoin, me joining a group, like, living in the future, meeting people, then understanding new tools, new toys. Okay, I got my Umbro, I got my hardware wallet, I got Super Backed OS, I got those kinds of things. Playing with it, making my little MacBook OS, or my little MacBook, making it, what do you call it, air gapped, right?
What was it? Sorry,
making the MacBook air gapped, for example.
Air gapped,
right?
yeah, for the super backed.
Yeah, and using super backed as well, right? It's just natural evolution, basically, of me learning about Bitcoin to going to these things. So, and then of course getting into mining, just realizing, hey, not only there's a market for mining, but it's really interesting stuff. Yeah. Actually, it's very I like technical things, right? So
yeah,
and I don't come from a computer, just so people know, I don't come from a computer tech background. I mean, I know how to use a computer. I know how to use devices and apps and stuff like that, and software, but it's not my forte. It's not my field. And if I can do it, I think there's a way to teach people, that are novices as well, to do it. And that's why I really believe in the Bitcoin Citadel group. This is something that's going to be really good for all of us, to tell you the truth.
Such an important point, because I feel like that's one of the reasons that, has helped me find so many great people here, is just because I'm not a technical guy myself. I'm not I think one of the biggest issues within Bitcoin is that the developers, the people who are building these tools, are expected to be the ones who explain it to people. And if you have a very technical mind, and if you can build things in that world, it's very difficult to explain those concepts to the average person. And I feel like that's one thing that I've tried my best to do. And it's not even something that I had to try to do. It's because that's how my brain works too. And so when people are watching this show, because my brain works that way, and if I can comprehend something and try my best at least to explain it to people, it's much easier than like a developer or somebody like that trying to explain it. I mean, we've seen no better example of that with the core versus knots thing. All of these people who have the technical knowledge, but they can't explain it to people like me and you.
That's right. I mean, the analogy I use all the time is, just because you were the best in your sport, so the best soccer players, not in all cases, best hockey players, they don't always make
Wayne
the best.
Gretzky.
Yeah, but they don't always make the best coaches, right?
Right.
They were excellent in what they did, but they were unable to to tap in and teach other people what they know in a granular level where they can break it down and explain things, right?
Well, I think Wayne Gretzky coached. Well, I mean, he's the greatest to ever play the game, probably. And I think he coached for 2 years in Phoenix, and I don't know how many games he won. So it's a perfect example right there of the best in the world at it, best that ever existed, and just can't coach.
Yep.
So it's nothing against him. It's just how they're built.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And you don't see Michael Jordan coaching basketball. Like it's so anyways, that's why you have guys like Alex and I who can kind of be the middleman there. And
I think I just want to say one more thing about that. I think, the fact that it took us, a long time to learn the stuff we're learning. I think for us, we find a great sense of achievement where we can actually teach what we've learned to other people. And that's what you do, on your show. You, like, the way you research a certain topic and you have your topic on the show, you go into it might not be a long show, but you actually do some research and then you explain it in the way you understand it. And that's what makes, for example, your show pretty unique, actually. And people really enjoy that because it's just real,
Yeah, and I think that having a guy like you here who has done this stuff himself, pretty much, I would say self-taught. I don't know if there's any other way to describe it, but again, same kind of thing. You're not a big technical guy, so when you're having a conversation with people, you're on the same level, you're on the same frequency as them, and so you can take the knowledge that you've learned and you can pass that on to somebody much easier. I feel like much more efficiently. So that's cool. One of the things that we were going to do on the show one day was bring on Daniel, who's a big advocate, like myself, of the Start 9. Not that I have anything against Umbro, but it's just what I started with and what I still use. but you're a number guy. So tell us maybe in your best description what the difference is between like an Umbrel and a Start 9 and why people out there should maybe consider getting an Umbrel. And the last thing here is, does it make sense for somebody to have one of each?
Okay. I got into Umbrel because it was more graphic user interface based.
What does that mean?
So I would, the way I would explain it is it looks more like Windows or Mac OS, where
Yeah. It
when
does
you
for sure.
interact with it, you have windows, you click on the actual app, you can right click and do some stuff in the app, you can change some options, and it looks like you're using a Mac computer or a Windows computer. That's what really attracted me to Umbrel. It does pretty much the same stuff as Start 9, basically. Start 9 has some different features, different security features, and the way they run their apps is a little bit different. To me, it just seemed a little too technical. I would relate Start 9 to be more like a Linux type computer. If you have a bit of understanding of command lines and running, certain commands in the background on a computer programmer level.
Mm-hmm.
That would be more attractive to a person like that. And you can tell that's how I think his name's Matt Hill, the CEO of Starting. Yeah, you can tell that's the kind of mindset he has. He's a really smart guy.
He is.
And when he explains stuff, it's way over my head. I can't even understand the guy, right? But that wasn't the reason I went to Umbrel. So, ease of use, just the way it looked. Price point, what was good for the Umbrel home. I tried using Umbrel on a Raspberry Pi at first. It worked okay. Kind of didn't work. I tried to Start 9 on a Raspberry Pi. It wasn't really recommended, but I tried it. Didn't work. And that's why I went with the, Umbrel home, the actual device they sell.
Yeah.
And that has been working great. I've loaded up. I did use a Bitcoin Core. At first, I switched over to Knots as a fairly painless procedure, and I run some small apps on the Umbrel. I use the mempool. So how it works is when you're running your own node, and you have let's say Bitcoin Knots and electors on there, the indexing software. You run your Sparrow wallet. So we talk about Sparrow wallet all the time on here. That's the index aggregator. That's what you.
So you run it directly on Umbrel then?
No, I don't actually. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll run my Bitcoin Knots and Umbrel, everything on one computer, and then I'll load in to my Umbrel on a different computer, on my phone or on a laptop or on my home computer. I will go to the IP address on my using my web browser, basically. Mm-hmm. So it finds it in my little home network, and I can access it that way. Then I can use Sparrow on my laptop, home computer, or whatever, and it finds it on my home network. And the beauty about it is when you, and I know you can do this on Start 9, but when you load your Sparrow wallet and you want to connect to the to the Bitcoin node, to the blockchain with your Sparrow wallet, you can do it through Tor. And that's just basically the anonymous VPN. And it just adds anonymity and stuff like that. So it makes things nice and secure for you. And, that's what I use it for, basically. It's,
So there's a question here that says from Bitcoin is Hope, why Umbrel and not Start 9? What would be like your best answer to that if somebody's out there looking for a home server? Why would you suggest somebody use an Umbrel over a Start 9, other than the price?
For me, it's just ease of startup. I literally plugged in my Umbrel, and it was on. I plugged it in, typed in the 2 words umbrel.local, and it was there, ready to go. And you can just start installing stuff. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest.
So it's pretty easy to use.
Very easy to use. Yes.
Do you do anything else on Umbrel that some people wouldn't. I was just talking to Forrest the other day from Bitcoin Not Crypto, and he's running all these different streaming, not all these different ones, but he's got streaming things on here that he connects to his computer or his TV. I feel like there's more apps available on Umbrel than Start9.
It seems like it. I haven't checked the repository for Start9 lately, but Umbrel, there's a lot that, Forrest, he does do a good job talking about that. The streaming apps like Plex, I think it is.
Yes, Plex, right.
Yeah, something like that. And it's really cool software, really cool stuff to do. I think it, if you're going to do stuff like that, that's good. There, I use it for example, if I want to look up transactions with some, basically I want it to be anonymous. I look up my transactions on mempool using the actual mempool software on the Umbrel itself, right?
Right.
So then my IP address can't be traced on, with looking at this transaction, basically. For example, that's one way I use it.
So when you talk about that, do you think that that's an issue for people out there right now if they're using Sparrow with a cold card just on their own, regular network? I feel like there's an issue there just with the transactions being more public connected to a public node. But you think that there's an issue with even people searching the mempool for their specific address?
I seem to think there is,
yeah.
To be honest with you. Yeah. You think about it this way. So if I load up mempool on my normal computer without a VPN, right off the bat, mempool already knows my IP address, for example. I'm not saying mempool are a bunch of bad actors, but if I'm going to sit here on my computer with no VPN and type in a transaction that happens to be my transaction that shows I've moved 48 Bitcoin, I don't know, as an example, that's going to draw a lot of attention. Oh, that transaction is linked to this IP address. Oh, we know where this person lives pretty much right now, actually. I'm not saying that information gets out, but it's best to be as careful as possible, right? Let's just this is what we're in the game for. We're learning how to do things the most secure way possible. So that's
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I think about all the time is kind of my plan with Bitcoin is to outweight the centralized entities and anybody who would be coming after me for certain things. But with that, it's hard to, because I don't really, I'm not the most private. It's something I'm working on. My path was more understanding Bitcoin and talking about it as much as I can, spending a lot of time doing that. But I lacked some things within the privacy realm that I'm trying to become a little bit better with now. But in terms of that, with the Umbrel, with the mempool, and with the VPN, what do you think people? Because I want people to leave the conversation today with like one or two things that they can actually implement into their own setup right now. You obviously use a VPN, and what service, what have you tried? What has worked best for you?
Yeah, I use a VPN now. I much like you.
Yeah.
It's more about it's not about not caring. It's more about not really knowing.
Yeah, I think that's what it was for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what it gets at for me. And I do use a VPN on my home computer most of the time. So I use Proton. VPN. I use the Proton services. So I subscribe to Proton. I use Proton email. I use their cloud service. I use their VPN service. I actually use their Proton Pass, which is really cool too. And it's all encrypted, right? So it's good stuff. But that's the main one I use. For VPNs, like on for example, your mobile phone. From my understanding, and I'm sure somebody will chime in and tell me I'm wrong, but from my understanding, you don't have to really worry about a VPN using your mobile phone, because when you connect to a certain cell tower, let's just say you're at cell tower A over here, that cell tower uses a VPN, an IP address, and there's multiple people tapping into that one IP address. So it's actually good for you if I'm using that, because there's 48, 50 people using that cell tower at this very moment too. You go
Right.
to cell tower B now next to you as you're traveling. That's a different IP address. So your IP address is constantly changing when you're using your mobile phone. Now, again, if someone has better information, this is from what I understand as far as cell phone technology goes. But I use my VPN a lot less on my mobile phone. I will use a VPN when I'm connected to a Starbucks
Hmm.
Wi-Fi network. That's when I'll use a VPN for sure.
Right.
And I would sometimes take it up a notch and use Orbot, which is like it's for Android, but it's a VPN, but using Tor, the Tor network, which is much more secure. Basically, it routes your information through a bunch of different nodes, way more than a VPN does, basically.
I feel like with phones, that's a great point about the phones and the cell towers there. So it wouldn't really increase your privacy very much, but it does give you the ability to access certain things that aren't available in your area, for example. So if I was connecting in your example here to cell tower A, which is obviously located in my area here, if I wanted to do something or watch something that's not available to my area, that's when I have used a VPN on my phone to connect to different countries so I can access certain things. But yeah, that's a great point. Actually, that's what I use on my phone is just Proton VPN, and it actually seems to work really easy. Like it's even for me, I tried it the first time, connect to a different country, it worked, and then I actually forgot I did it for like a day or two, and then I couldn't open something because I was on a VPN. But it was just like so easy.
Well, you know it works because when you're connected to a VPN, like you said, I've done it where I've left it on,
Yeah.
and I try to use, let's say, I try to log into my banking app. Now I don't use the app. I will log in using my web browser, um, and we can get into the stuff like
Like in
that.
your phone?
You know, on my phone, yeah,
Okay.
we can actually get into that when we talk about Graphene OS stuff. But I would use my web browser, and the web browser. When you use the web browser with a VPN, my banking website would say, "Okay, you're trying to log into Alex's, banking information, but I don't recognize this IP address. So I'm going to make you do the two-factor authentication that you've set up,
Hmm.
just because." And quite often it's like, oh, I have to take out my little YubiKey, plug it in, go to my authentication software, and get the 6-digit number. And okay, it's a pain in the butt, but still, it makes me think, okay, it's working, because if it didn't ask me that, it would know where I'm coming from,
Right.
because I'm commonly coming from this same IP address, basically.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that's what happened to me too. That's what made me realize that I had my VPN on. It's because I tried logging into an app and it said you can't use this with a VPN. So
That's interesting. What app was that?
it was
If you don't mind.
ZBD, I think. It was
Okay,
ZBD. Yeah.
that's interesting. They wouldn't let you use a VPN.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah, because they want to track you. That's why.
Yeah, probably. That's where the sats come from, right?
Yeah.
No free lunch.
No.
But no, that's interesting. Have you used anything else in terms of like I think Obscure is one of the VPNs that a lot of Bitcoiners enjoy using because you can pay for it in freaking people, man. This car right here, look at this. Just driving past, you can see it there, just like moseying by, looking in. Wonder if that's somebody watching the show right now.
Maybe you're your first local fan there, right?
Oh man, they're crawling. Anyway, yeah. Have you used or anything other than Proton, or should we just leave it with Proton? Because I feel
Yeah.
like that's such an easy thing for people to do.
I haven't used anything other than Proton. I've heard Molvad is pretty good too.
Malvad, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all pretty good. They all do pretty much the same thing, realistically. So whatever you choose to use, you just use it. Just start experimenting with it. If you don't like it, change services. That's
yeah,
all I would say. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, that's the same. I think that's good advice for anybody in Bitcoin, kind of at any stage, is just try things, right? Like always do it very low risk, especially if you're using new wallets or, new eCash or Fedimints or whatever it is. Always do it low risk, but don't be afraid to just try things, right? Like that's how you learn. That's how you learned exactly to get, where you are right now is just by trying shit.
Pretty much. I'm not saying I lost a lot of sats, but Well, you've have had experience with that actually. With
Well, you've lost a lot of sats in terms of all the devices and things that you've been buying.
yeah, but it's those are toys.
But it's an investment, right? That's how I see it.
Investment, but those are toys too for me.
Yeah.
Those are my man toys. Like if I wasn't going to buy a cold card or or the the hardware to build a signing device, I'd go buy something else that's stupid that would sit on the shelf in 2 weeks, right?
Or a case of beer.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Something like that. Okay, so let's get into the graphene stuff, because this is something I'm fascinated in myself, something I'm trying to figure out for my own setup. So maybe just for the dummies out there like me, maybe just explain, if somebody did want to go down this road, where would they start? And maybe just kind of explain what the reason of why somebody would want to run like a graphene OS phone.
Yeah. So
what did you use before you used Android?
So yeah, I've used Android pretty much since I can remember using. Well, actually, sorry, I've used a BlackBerry. BlackBerry was my first set of cell phones. A couple BlackBerries, and then I went to since BlackBerry was kind of going towards Android, anyways. I got myself a Samsung phone, the S21 or whatever it is. That's when I went full Android, right? And but I've never, everybody around me uses iPhones, right? Again, nothing wrong with that phone. It's a great phone. But I just didn't like the ecosystem. So I've used Android for a long time. Then I started getting interested in, hearing about these weird secure OSs, secure ROMs, these weird open source OSs. And it's like, okay, well, this is kind of cool. It's more like my avenue of tinkering, right? So I started learning about what's called the Android Open Source Project, and that is run by Google. So Google actually owns Android. They created it, and what they've allowed is they've allowed the base version of Android software to be available in open source. So what that allows other people to do is, like Samsung, they can take this Android open source project or software and install their own bloatware, their own crap into it, and make it their own. Almost, well, not really their own, but make it catered towards Samsung customers, towards Motorola customers, towards whoever, right? Along that came these OSs that were a little bit more secure and were concerned with security and, just privacy and making things a little bit easier, a little bit better to use, right? So there's a couple other ones like EOD OS, and I can't remember. There's a couple other ones, but Graphene OS is a more prominent one. They've been around for about, 5, 6, 7 years. They operate out of Canada, by the way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Canadian guy. So what they're doing is they've taken the Android base and they've made just basically a much more secure version that doesn't allow really apps to really talk to each other without your permission, doesn't allow the device itself to spy on you without your permission. So it allows you to have complete granular control of every single aspect in your phone. Now, what I mean by that is, so your device, for example, believe it or not, and I know it's going to bring the conspiracy theory out of me, but it's not conspiracy theory. But for Google, what they do, and they're pretty good at it, and I think other phone companies are pretty good at it too, is they'll use their Android software and they'll listen to you. They'll constantly listen. They'll constantly watch through your camera. And it's not even conspiracy. It's a fact, right? Mm-hmm. So what Graphene OS allows you to do is, for example, in your main profile, you have your phone, and in the pull down menu, you slide over in your pull down menu and you can actually disable the mic and disable the camera. That's the kind of granular control you can have on your device level itself. Now, what also you can do is you can actually control what the apps do themselves. And then I'll go into the next part of that as well. So you can actually go into the apps individually and say, I want this app to only have access to, let's say, my photos, for example. And actually, you can even bring it down to a level where it's like, I only want my app to have access to a certain amount of photos in the phone on top of it. So you would have options that would disable all the functions. It would disable the network. It would disable the camera. It would disable the telemetry. Basically, when your phone moves around, how fast it moves, where it moves, you can disable that. You can disable location. You can disable so much stuff in the app. So basically, the app is working on its own. And what Graphene OS has done really well is when you start disabling things on certain apps, they haven't done it for all the apps, but when you start disabling things, the apps don't behave properly. They start failing and crashing because they need this access to run properly. It's programmed. It's ingrained in their programming. Unless I have this, I'm not doing anything. Sorry. And Graphene OS kind of works around all that and makes these apps behave properly without all that stuff that they need. So that's one thing. I think Graphene OS does really well.
That's interesting. I've never really heard it explained that way before.
Yeah, and I think it's just, what else can it do? One big thing about Graphene OS is it implements something called sandboxing. So this is how I explain it to my kids, even, right? I'm trying to explain. And this is the best part about teaching stuff. If you can explain it to your 10-year-old kid,
100%.
if you can, honestly, you can explain it to anybody, right? So I have an app, and the app is inside this box, right? The app works inside that box. It does its own stuff. Normally what happens in any other Android or any other phone system is the apps continually talk to each other. Hey, I'm going to pass you some information here. This person went over here. I'll give you the location information over here. Hey, you know what? What's up here? This is some information here. Google Mail, Gmail. Oh, we're gonna correlate all this. Now we know exactly what this person's doing. We're gonna target ads to this person, this and that, right? So that's what apps do normally. And again, I can explain it further. I'll be doing more on the Bitcoin Citadel school page as it evolves. I'll be doing lots of stuff on this, but essentially what Graphene OS does is it separates the ability for apps to talk to each other. And this is really important, right? So the app, sometimes, again, if it can't talk to another app, it behaves incorrectly. But Graphene OS changes some parameters. They've done a really good job in saying, okay, I'm going to trick the app into thinking it's got access to other stuff, but it really doesn't. And it's still going to behave properly. So the app sits there on one side. It does one thing. You have another app beside it. You're running. You could have your Gmail. You could have, realistically, you could have anything running. You could have your chats running. You could have certain apps that you've downloaded running pretty much normally without them talking to each other. And that's a really important thing for privacy, as far as, it's more about the targeting of ads, targeting of information, geofencing, geographical information, that kind of stuff.
Just anything, man. Like I was driving to the city last week and I was looking for directions. So I was using Waze. I think it's called Waze.
Yeah.
And it showed me my speedometer. And I was like, I feel like it was showing as red because I was speeding a little bit. But I was like, I feel like this is going to be a real problem for people. It's like it's having a cop sitting there essentially with you in the car, right? Because everybody's scared of these, running past a cop or running into a speed trap because they have these speedometers. But it's like, I have it in my phone that's attached to me. It has all my information. Like, I feel like in a very dystopian world, they could use these things if people aren't really careful with it. And I could have got a ticket just by, because my phone showed that I was going 125 or whatever it was.
I love that example. It's like Demolition Man style, Oh, you sped you went 5 kilometers over the limit for 10 seconds. That's going to be $15. Sorry. You know what I mean? You do that 10 times a day. It's like, oh yeah.
Well, that's the thing, that people are so concerned with this digital ID and like, getting and social credit in terms of jaywalking when they shouldn't be walking somewhere. But like, that's very minor in terms of what these things actually have the capability of doing and doing to people and tracking and things like that. So that's super interesting. The other thing that I found interesting there was like, You talked about the fact that these apps, if they are unable to share information and communicate with each other, they start acting improperly. But it's not because they actually need that data, it's because how they're built. Because it sounds like to me, Graphene OS, it just bypasses that by tricking it, which means that in reality, they actually don't need all the information that they claim to need.
That's
And
correct.
they basically punish people for trying to turn off their location, turn off their mic, turn off their camera.
Well, that's the thing, there are certain controls, let's say in iPhone and, regular Android systems. There are some controls, like you can turn off location, you can turn off certain things on certain apps at a very basic level. But what Graphene OS does is it takes it to the next level where it's like you have complete control of this app. You can tell it when to turn on, when to turn off, how much battery usage it gets. You can optimize the app exactly. As an example, I'm just going really deep into it, but if you when I was really overwhelmed at first looking at Graphene OS when I loaded it up on my Pixel, just going through the menus, going through the settings. That's my favorite thing to do, is go through settings and seeing all the operations you can change and parameters you can change. But just seeing how deep these menus went and seeing what I was able to actually turn on and off and change. There was so much stuff I didn't even understand yet. And I still am learning about all this stuff, but the really technical stuff anyways. But man, I'll tell you that it's pretty awesome that we actually have something like this that exists, and they're continually developing it. It's just going to get better and better. For the new Pixel 10, for example, there's been lots of talk about Graphene OS not being able to do what they're doing with the new Pixels. Well, it takes time. I think Graphene OS, the company themselves, announced over a month ago that they were able to unlock the phone properly. They got their own Pixel 10 brand new out of the box. They started tinkering with it, and they confirmed they're able to unlock this and that, and they're going to be able to implement a new version for the new Pixel soon. So that's really good news. They can continue the project as these phones become, there's new phones, new models come out, basically.
That's what so that's what I was going to ask you. So if somebody out there, and I think I'm going to go down this road myself, just for basically shits and gigs and for obvious reasons of why, how important this kind of stuff is in the world that we live in today. But if somebody out there is watching this and listening to this and kind of interested in pursuing it, where would people start? Like you mentioned the Google Pixel there. Is that kind of the first place people should go to, is just get yourself a Pixel? And is that, or
Yeah.
where do they go?
So the way it works is actually the Google Pixel is the only phone supported by Graphene OS. The reason is because the hardware architecture, the way the chips are built, the way the amount of security that Google, believe it or not, the amount of security that Google has put into the phone itself, and the method. Again, I'm not super technical on this, but
none of us are.
Yeah, I know, but the methods they use in making these chips, the way the chips interact with the OS and stuff like that, is a very secure method, and it's approved by Google OS. They could have gone to Samsung phones, Motorola, whatever other phone, TLC, whatever. They could have gone to all the other phones, but they viewed the Google phone itself, made by Google, to be the best candidate for Graphene OS. So that's number one. You have to get a Google
Pixel
phone, a Google Pixel.
And where do people buy those? Like just eBay, or where?
To be honest with you, I would either buy it. eBay is one place. That's probably my last place I would buy it. I would buy it. Number one, I would buy it full price from Google. Then it's a brand new phone, untouched.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
From unlocked, completely unlocked. There's another option. If you can find an unlocked phone, let's say on Facebook Marketplace or any other marketplace app that you use locally in your area, I would find a unlocked, no carrier locked, so completely unlocked, untouched, brand new in box phone. Has to be brand new in box. For me, it has to be brand new in box. Just because you don't want people tampering with it, you don't want people messing around with it, even though it's flashed and cleaned and this and that, doesn't matter. So a brand new unlocked phone would be the only way to go in this case. And that's when you would obtain the phone and go through the steps of, flashing the OS on and this and that, basically, at that point.
Okay, so then that's the starting point, is getting a brand new unboxed Google Pixel. Does it matter the model number or anything like that? Do some work better than others?
So the way it is, of course, there are older phones that you could get. So right now we're at Pixel 10. It's not yet supported. That's the newest phone. Anything below Pixel 10 would work. So 9, 8, 7. I wouldn't go much further back than 7. 7 is
Okay.
probably the lowest I would go, just because of the actual support you're going to get from Graphene OS. They're just not making the software and the updates anymore for the
Right.
older 5, 4s, those kinds of things. They're just not. They have to concentrate on the newer stuff now,
Yeah.
right? So
it's probably easier to find an unboxed newer one. Like, it'd be hard to find an unboxed older version of it, because who would keep it around that long?
Yeah, you could find one a couple of years old. So for example, I got the 8 last year. It was a generation old.
Mm-hmm.
They're around. They're available. A newer one,
like a 3 probably. Like, it'd be really hard to find a 3 unboxed.
Almost impossible. Probably. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Good info there. And then probably from there, like, people could just start doing a little bit of their own research, watching some videos on it, like where to get started. You're also going to have some of these videos actually in the Bitcoin Citadel community too, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I'm going to be working on a series of videos and write-ups on, how to install, how to, the steps involved, and just talking about some stuff, some features, things like that. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing, but it's gonna kind of go from there, basically. So there'll be lots of information coming up.
You already have some good information in here right now. So this is
I have a few of them. Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to watch these yet, but these are all available in the Bitcoin Citadel school community. So this is something, I mean, if you're interested in this stuff, Alex is obviously going to be a great resource to look into this in terms of where to start, the applications, how to configure it, the profiles, all this stuff. App of the week, it looks like it's all coming soon. But that's part of the Citadel, because Alex doesn't have his own YouTube channel. I'm guessing, do you plan on having your own YouTube channel?
No plans for it yet.
No plans.
But never say never, right? Never say never. Yeah.
So that information is available in there. And so that's kind of the steps that I would take here. And one of the cool things and one of the unique things that Bitcoin Citadel does is that we have this thing called value for value. So if you went down the road of getting yourself a Pixel 7 to 9 unboxed, no carrier, you started doing a little bit of your own research, you join the community here, or if you're already part of the community, you can start watching some of the stuff that Alex has put out, start looking around for other information, start talking to AI about this stuff. And then you could always reach out to Alex. You could use the Bitcoin Citadel website, which has his Calendly link in there, and you could just book a call. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Alex, but you're doing the value for value thing, right? Like, that's part of.
Absolutely.
You're good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many value for value calls that I've had where I just feel like it removes that barrier of having to make an upfront payment to people, which is good for the user side of things, kind of shitty for us some days. But it starts the conversation. And then if you're stuck with something, you don't really need to go through the full process of everything you need to do. But if you're just stuck somewhere, if you want Alex's like second opinion on something, help with a specific aspect, just set up a call with Alex. That's what this value for value thing is going to be for. You don't have to front a bunch of money, and then you can send them some Bitcoin and you can remain totally anonymous. And that's kind of what we want to promote within Bitcoin Citadel is the anonymity and the very low friction for people to get help out there who need. So I think that's a really cool a route, and something that I'm going to actually do. Hopefully, once we kind of get through the transition here of 88 sats to everything we're doing right now, that's going to be at the top of my list in terms of a graphene phone. Is there any other topics you wanted to cover, Alex? I got to go here in about 10 minutes, I would say. Just a bit of a heads up.
No, I think pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to say, as far as the Graphene OS stuff
Mhm.
goes. I know you and Craig talked about it yesterday. Well, Craig mentioned it yesterday, and I really liked what he said about, you don't have to go nuts, especially
Yeah.
on the secure phone stuff. You can start with adjusting a few parameters on the existing phone you have. So you have an iPhone, you have Samsung, whatever Android phone. You can actually adjust a few things to make it a little bit better for you at this point as it is before you want to jump into a graphene phone, because graphene is really not for everyone. There's some limitations, for example, no Google Pay, no payment system with your phone. There's no Android Auto. There's kind of a workaround, but things like that where these specific services need Google Play services to be completely interactive with this app, it won't work, for example. So they're still working on that in Graphene OS. So, and there's lots of open source alternatives to a lot of stuff. And sometimes it's just not, I don't know, people don't want to really go into all that. They want ease of use. And I
Yeah.
understand iPhone, Android, standard Android is pretty easy to use. So those are things we can discuss in a video or a value call or whatever. Other than that, I just want to say, first of all, congratulations on your 400th show yesterday,
thanks,
or
Al.
day before. Sorry, day before. And like you mentioned it already, without the Living in the Future group, none of us would know each other. None of us would, collaborate together, and this wouldn't exist without it. So I think it's really important. I think in the Bitcoin Citadel group, we have an amazing team. We really do. All of us are awesome. I'm blown away by our skill set, our knowledge, our ability to come up with ideas, and I'm very proud to be part of this team. Absolutely, this has just been an awesome experience so far, and I'm looking forward to the next little while for sure as we grow.
Yeah, part of the visionaries now and the Bitcoin Citadel, kind of the split there. I've been listening to a couple different things. Obviously, our guy Earl, but one of the things that what we're going to be focused on is like figuring out what it is that people want, right? I think that's a good place to start. And that's kind of the main thing that I've taken away over these last couple of years is Earl has a phrase that basically says something along the lines of, if you tell me what you want, I can tell you how to get there, essentially. And I think that's the biggest thing that people really need to take some self-reflection on and ask what it is that they want. And so I've been doing this a little bit more lately, trying to get ready for the new visionary stuff. And I really wanted to have something nailed down in my own kind of mind about what I want, because it doesn't really make sense to be talking about this stuff and telling other people to follow this stuff if I'm not really doing it myself. But one of the things that I came up with, I realized that the biggest part of it, the biggest thing that I needed to focus on was actually growing my own network. That was the only way that I could get there faster. Everything else was kind of externally affected, kind of out of my control. But the one thing that I knew that if I did this, then I could get there where I want to go faster. And that was growing my network. And so that people within the Bitcoin community, having people that you can talk to things, share ideas, build things with, and just be on the same kind of frequency. I think the point of me saying this is like, when people think about what it is they want in life, what they're working towards, if they can nail that down, a major component of that, regardless of what it is, I think is actually going to be meeting more people, because you're going to start expanding your opportunities. You're going to see things that you might not have otherwise seen. And I think that that's a huge aspect of this whole thing. So between the visionaries, between the Citadel, I think if nothing else, it's going to help people really expand their horizons, meet new people, both online and eventually in person. And that's, I think, a really good way to get wherever you're going a little bit quicker is just by knowing more people, making more connections, and obviously expanding your horizons in that way.
For sure, this is really being a part of this group really pushed me to do things I'm a little bit uncomfortable doing, but it's okay. That's what you want to do as a person.
100%.
That's how you're going to grow, right?
Yes,
And
100%.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to inspire people to do things that are a little bit uncomfortable and push them, to try new things and give it a shot. Because if you don't try, you're just going to end up regretting it, to be honest.
Yes.
Right.
That was the big thing for me, is like, I don't want to wake up in 50, 60, whatever it is, years from now and wonder what what could have happened if I took this, this chance on this, or made myself a little bit uncomfortable with this, what could have been. That was the biggest thing for me. So I think that the other part of that too, in terms of the play forward here, I think that the Citadel having the school option in there, I just see it as such a unique thing. Like, obviously with the Living the Future, we were on the Patreon before, which was good to kind of share content, share videos, help people learn, but there was no real place for people to interact. And I feel with school now, you could get in there, you can have active discussions whenever you want to at your own convenience. You can share pictures, you can share videos, you can share all these things to help other people get to know you, increase your trust with them, your trust level, which is going to lead to things down the road. Because, if the people within Bitcoin Citadel right now hadn't been there as long, we probably wouldn't have the same trust built as we did. And so it is proof of work, it's proof of time, it's proof of reputation. And I think that having a place like school, people can really, share whatever they want to. It gives them the platform and the ability to do that. And in a world that we're heading into without middlemen, trust becomes such a key component to that. If people do want to take this Bitcoin thing seriously, I highly suggest, whether it's Bitcoin Citadel or Visionaries or both, but just join some community, because you're going to have access to things that, for a fraction of what they're worth in terms of value, that's going to unlock so much in your life, I think. And Bitcoin Citadel is going to be a big part of that.
Totally agree.
So I think that I just shared the link to the school. If anybody wants to join, we had a couple people join yesterday after the show, so hopefully we can get some more in there. Again, if you are somebody who's in the Living the Future or plan on being one of the visionaries in the visionary community, I would say just hold off. We're going to have some different things for that. But if you're not and you want to join, I shared the link there so you can get access to information there right now, and obviously all the future content to come. Big shout out to everybody over on Zapstream today. There's a bunch of Zaps. We can't get through them all here, but some bigger ones. Shani sent in 2,100 sats. Letha sent in 3,000 sats, and Noah, back-to-back days, sent in 1,000. Adam Bad Gal B. So thanks everybody over in Noster. Thanks for tuning in today. Any final words, Alex?
That's fantastic. I love seeing the Zaps.
Where can people find you if they want to interact other than within the Bitcoin Citadel school community? They're pretty big on Noster.
Yeah, I'll shoot. I'm Plunger on Noster, so you can find me there. I'll actually post it on the Bitcoin Citadel. And I will. I can give you a link, and you can post it if you want. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's pretty much. Other than that, I'm bitcoincitadel.net. You can get me there.
Yep. Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah. If anybody listening to this conversation right now is interested in getting a new privacy phone, a Graphene OS, playing around with that, you can go to bitcoincitadel.net. I'll put a link in the chat there, and you just go to educators, and Alex is going to pop up there as an educator, and then it'll say book with Alex. And then you should be able to book a time with him using Calendly. And again, there's no upfront payments with the value for value option, and you can just kind of send Alex whatever you feel it was worth to you, which I think that's how it should be. So with that, Alex, I want to say thank you very much for coming on today. This whole thing is just kind of getting going off the ground. We talked about that before. This is the official launch week of Bitcoin Citadel, but it won't really matter what happens this week. It's going to what plays out over these next couple of years. And so that's what we're focused on. We're looking pretty far ahead, but we want to get the details right in the meantime. So that's what we got. If you want to set up a chat with Alex, again, you can go to bitcoincitadel.net. Consider joining the school. We have a one-time payment on there of $99. We didn't want to do a recurring fee for people to have to keep paying for it. So if you're serious about this stuff, it is kind of an investment, but you're going to have access to people like Craig, people like Alex, and the people who are going to be coming over these next couple of days. So thanks, Alex. Thanks a lot for being here. We'll be back tomorrow, same spot, with a different Bitcoin Citadel educator. And we're going to be talking about living on a Bitcoin standard tomorrow.
Awesome. Jor, thank you so much for letting me speak and having a little conversation with you. It was fun.
Of course. And thanks everybody in the chat. Thanks for the zaps. And we'll be back here tomorrow. Thanks, Alex.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye.